Welcome back, Endgame community. I'm Pierre, here to help you with fantasy baseball advice once again. All-Star break is over. It's time to get the second half of the season underway. So I'm going to hit you with some waiver wire options you might want to check out among batters. All right, let me start with a personal favorite of mine. This is a guy I was really high on last year, drafted him in several places, and it just turned out to be a wasted pick. He did nothing, sent to the minors. I'm talking about Leody Tavares. I'm very happy to say that he is finally panning out and looks like he could be a stud down the stretch. Now, small sample size warning, of course, but since he's been called up to the Texas Rangers to play center field and bat sixth on an everyday basis, he is hitting .341 so far in 85 at-bats, 3 homers, 15 RBIs, and 5 stolen bases. He is a type of player that really could be a difference maker because he's got, number one is speed, right? He's been mainly a speedster. This guy has a 97th percentile sprint speed, always known to be someone who can steal bases, but also showing some pop, and that's important. The fact he's driving and runs, and this Rangers offense has slowly been coming alive. This is an interesting prospect who's finally getting his chance. Look, he's playing center field, as I mentioned. He's a switch hitter, so he shouldn't be platooning. He's got the defensive ability in the range that they trust him out there every day, and he's not batting at the very bottom of the lineup. He's hitting sixth, which is why he gets a chance to drive and runs. I don't want to get too excited about him. I was way too excited last year about him, but based on what he's doing so far, he looks like a must-add. So if he's still out there in any of your leagues, you absolutely need to go grab him. All right, let's talk about another outfield prospect who is basically speed first and, well, maybe only speed. We'll see. Esteury Ruiz of the San Diego Padres. So maybe he'll turn out to be what, well, CJ Abrams hasn't so far. Abrams has 5 tools. He's got so much upside. Big name prospect. He's been on the roster but hasn't really produced. And now Ruiz has gotten a chance. He's been playing the outfield the last few games before the All-Star break. This is a guy who, talking about speed, 98th percentile sprint speed, stealing a ton of bases throughout the minors. And look, he was hitting really well too, hitting well over 300 at both the AA and AAA level this year. So he got the call. He's been filling in. A word of warning, though, is that he's been mainly playing because Jurickson Profar, if you remember that nasty, scary collision a couple of weeks ago, had been on the 7-day IL with concussion symptoms. He is activated now. He should be back. So we might not see Ruiz playing every day, but of course he has a chance to earn playing time. We'll see what happens there. So Ruiz, if you need speed, he's definitely got to be interested in. Just don't necessarily assume he'll be in the everyday lineup. Let's talk about another young player. This time, let's focus on power. Nolan Jones of the Cleveland Guardians. He's a guy who's been given a chance to hold down an everyday job. He's done pretty well. Only 1 home run so far, 9 RBIs in 27 at-bats. He's a guy who's been a high-end prospect. He has missed a lot of time. In fact, he missed about 2 months early this season, which is why we don't have a lot of numbers to go off of in the minors. He did flash some power, not elite power numbers throughout the minor leagues. He's only 24, so again, it's still too early to write the book on him. But so far, so good. He's adapting. He's not striking out a ton at the major league level. So this guy's very intriguing based on his upside. Cleveland also slowly coming along on offense. Had a really rough start to the year, looking a little bit better. Nolan Jones is somebody for probably a little bit deeper leagues I would keep an eye on if you need some power production. All right, how about a more under-the-radar player, someone who's been kind of sneaky good in small spurts? I'm talking about Ramon Urias of the Baltimore Orioles, a team that's been sneaky good. So Urias has been a guy that really has not gotten a lot of attention. He's only 20% owned in fantasy baseball leagues, and that's because just as he was heating up kind of in June, then he hit the IL and missed a couple of weeks. He's back, and he was on a massive heater right before the break. It's kind of unfortunate that he had to stop it. He was 10 for 23 with 3 home runs, 10 RBIs just since July 10th. This is a guy who qualifies at second base, third base, and shortstop, which is really nice. You can slot him in anywhere in your middle infield or your corner infield spot. He has a 50% hard hit rate on the season, so this isn't just that really small sample. This is a guy who's been effective, as I mentioned, at time. I think that he's definitely worth taking a look at, especially if you need help at any of those infield spots. So Ramon Urias should be available in most of your leagues. Another player who is hot as of the week before the break, this one might surprise you. It's a guy who's been struggling all year long and a veteran, Yoan Moncada of the White Sox. Yeah, he's a guy who formerly was among the league leaders in batting average a couple of years ago. Really kind of struggled last year, and this year, the beginning of the season, I mean, honestly, he was dropped all over the place because he was that bad. He was actively hurting your team. I know this because I had him in a couple of places. We do know he did have an oblique strain at one point, and he came back eventually. He just didn't look the same. Those things can linger, or they can affect a guy's swing. That might be what happened with Moncada, because he just didn't look right at the plate at all. And in fact, it was funny because a couple of weeks ago I mentioned Jake Berger, a rookie guy, kind of like Nolan Jones, young power prospect, a guy who came along, and he was hitting really well. He was worth adding. Looked like he might just take his job, and he did for a short time. But then what happened? Berger hits the IL, and now Moncada, he's been back, and all of a sudden he's motivated, he's healthy, who knows what it is, but he has been on fire. So since July 10th, the 8 games right before the All-Star break happened, hit 324 with 2 homers, 6 RBIs, and 10 runs scored. Now that's the important thing. Moncada's never been a huge power guy, but that 10 runs scored, he's batting second in the White Sox lineup. And you know the White Sox are definitely a good offensive team. If he's going to be at the top of that order and actually getting on base finally, he's going to cross the plate a lot. So just for that, it's definitely worth adding him. If Moncada is right, you know what he's capable of. And you know, maybe this break actually will make him even healthier and better. So I would absolutely seek out Moncada if he was dropped in your league. He's only out there in half of leagues right now. He's actually owned in only half of leagues. So there's a good chance that he was dropped by a frustrated owner. Last but not least, let me throw out a prospect who has just come up into the lineup, Jeter Downs of the Boston Red Sox. Of course, being in Boston, get a lot of attention. The fact that he's named after Derek Jeter. Yes, it's true, he really was. This is a guy who's been one of their top prospects the last couple of years. The thing is, I want to throw out some caution here because he really has not hit well all year. They kind of brought him up out of necessity. He's got the tools, he's got the upside. This is a guy who absolutely could be a star at the major league level at some point, but it does not look like he's ready this year. I mean, he was really struggling even in the minors, and so far hitting just around 200. He's hitting 9th in the order so far as well. He does have speed and some good pop. Don't be over enticed by the tools. I would say if you're in a keeper or dynasty league, he's worth grabbing now before he does start to take off. But in redraft leagues, I don't think he's necessarily worth adding just yet. We're down to the stretch run now, second half of the season, and things are going to get fast and furious, especially once the trade deadline hits. I'll hit you with some special videos there, tell you some guys to add or to trade for before the deadline hits. But for now, these are my waiver wire picks for hitters. Don't forget to catch the pitcher edition of this as well each and every week.